Hey guys, today we are going to talk about circumference of a circle. The circumference is the distance around a circle. Okay, so we're going to learn how to find the distance around a circle. We're also going to deal with arc length, but I'll actually put that in a second video. Arc length is a portion of the circumference of a circle. I don't have a lot of room here, so I'll abbreviate circumference. Arc length is a portion of the circumference of a circle. So here's how you find the circumference of a circle. There's circumference, and we'll call it C, of a circle is pi times the diameter. Okay, so D, pi times D, where D is the diameter. Okay, now what is pi actually? So we have a circle here. And in a circle, a chord that goes all the way across through the center, that is a diameter. Okay, half of that is a radius, and we'll use that today as well. But if I was to take this diameter, maybe take a piece of string exactly that length and try to wrap it around the circle, it definitely would not go all the way around the circle. It might go from here to, say, about here. Okay, so there is one diameter wrapped around the circle. So I need more. So I take another piece of string and cut it that length, the length of the diameter, and wrap it around the circle. And it doesn't finish going all the way around still. It leaves us some more, so we need another diameter. Okay, so I'll cut another piece of string and wrap it around the circle, and it'll get me like right there, not quite all the way around here. So there's a third diameter. And that leaves this little portion right here. And that is approximately 0.14 diameters. So it takes about 3.14 diameters to get all the way around the circle. Okay, and that 3.14 is what we call pi. So pi is about 3.14, and we multiply that by the diameter to get the circumference because it takes about 3.14 diameters to get around the circle. Okay, so that is why we say that circumference is pi times diameter, 3.14 diameters. Okay. So let's find some measures here. The circumference of a circle with a radius of 9 centimeters. Now, a radius only goes halfway. Okay, so if a radius is 9, that means the diameter is 18 centimeters. Okay, so the circumference is 18 times pi centimeters. The diameter times pi. Pi times diameter, diameter times pi, same thing. We usually write it with the number first. So 18 times pi centimeters. And that is an exact answer. And I'm going to leave it just like that. 18 times pi is the circumference in centimeters. Okay. Next, we're going to find the radius of a circle with a circumference of 26 meters. So this time we actually know the circumference. So I know the number that goes right here. So for C, I'm going to put 26. And that equals pi times diameter. And I don't know the diameter. But I can find the diameter by dividing both sides by pi. Okay, so the diameter is 26 over pi, and that is in meters. Okay, now I'm actually asked for the radius. Okay, so I have to divide by 2 in order to get the radius. So the radius is 26 over 2 pi. Okay, so I'm actually dividing my answer by 2 in order to get the radius. Okay, so I could leave my answer like this. The radius is, and then 26 divided by 2 is 13. 13 over pi meters. We usually don't leave irrational numbers in a denominator though, so I might just want a decimal answer for this one. So I would do 13 divided by the pi button. Okay, and the pi button is right here. 13 divided by pi. And if you don't have a pi button, you can do 13 divided by 3.14, and that'll get you a good approximation. This will be a little bit more accurate, though. So the radius is about 4.14 meters. So I've got an exact answer and an approximate answer here. Either of those would be okay, but we usually don't leave an irrational number like pi in a denominator. Okay, so next up we have a tire here. The dimensions of the car tire are shown here. So we've got a 15-inch rim, and then the walls of the tire are 5.5 inches. So we've got 5.5 on top and on bottom. To the nearest foot, how far does the tire travel when it makes 15 revolutions? So in this case, I'm going to be making 15 revolutions, which means 15 circumferences. Okay, so the distance that I'm going to travel, distance, will equal the number of revolutions times the circumference. Okay, so the number of circumferences times the circumference. So how far will it travel with 15 revolutions? So the distance will be 15 times the circumference. Now the circumference is pi times diameter. So the diameter is all of these put together. So that's 5.5 plus 15 plus 5.5, and that's 26. So the diameter is 26, so pi times 26 will give me the circumference. Okay, so pi times 26 times 15, I can multiply 15 and 26, but this is actually like a real world problem here, and that's a time when I like to use an approximate answer instead of leaving it exact, like with the pi just sitting there in the answer. And it also actually says to the nearest foot, so it's telling us to round. So I don't want an exact answer here, so I don't want a pi in the answer like I left it right here. So what I'm going to do is 15 times pi times 26. So I'm multiplying everything this time, and I get, my calculator's in a mode where it wants to actually leave it exact, so I'm going to have to change that. So I'll change my mode to classic and try that again. 15 times pi times 26 is 1225.22. Okay, so 1225.22 is my distance. Distance is 1225.22. Now, that is not my final answer because my diameter is in inches. This says to the nearest foot. So I need to take that answer and divide it by 12 because there's 12 inches in a foot. Divide that by 12 and I'm converting to feet. 102.1 feet. It says the nearest foot, so I'm rounding to 102 feet as my final answer. Okay, so this number right here was in inches. Because my diameter was in inches, I had to divide by 12 in order to get that into feet. Okay, so find the circumference of a circle with a diameter of 5 inches. So the circumference is just pi times the diameter. The diameter is 5, so it's 5 pi inches. That is the exact circumference. Find the diameter of a circle with a circumference of 17 feet. So the circumference this time, I know, so I'm going to use this formula. Circumference equals pi times diameter. I know the circumference is 17 feet, so for C, I'm putting in 17. 17 equals pi times diameter. So I'll divide by pi, and I get the diameter is 17 over pi. Now that's an exact answer, but again, we don't usually leave an irrational number in a denominator. And what that means, as an irrational number, if I type that in the calculator, it fills up the whole calculator, fills up that whole screen, and then what it does is it continues forever. It never repeats, it never terminates. That is an irrational number. So I don't want to leave that in the denominator. So 17 divided by pi is 5.41. So I've got about 5.41 feet for my diameter. And then a car tire has a diameter of 28 inches. So we've got this circle, that's the tire. It's got a diameter of 28 inches. How many revolutions does it make when it travels 500 feet? Okay, so let's actually just change this 500 feet to inches by multiplying by 12. So 500 times 12 is 6,000. So it's actually traveling 6,000 inches. How many revolutions will it make? So in other words, how many circumferences is that? So we're going to use the same formula we made up above where we did distance is the number of revolutions times the circumference. Okay, so in this case, the distance is 6,000 inches. That equals how many revolutions times the circumference, and the circumference is the diameter times pi, so that's 28 pi. Okay, now to get x by itself, I can divide both sides by 28 pi. Okay, but I have to be careful. When I divide this, I actually need to put parentheses around this denominator, so I'm dividing by that whole denominator. So 6,000 divided by parentheses, then this denominator, 28 pi. And it's 68.21. So to go 6,000 inches or 500 feet, it takes 68.21 revolutions. So the tire has to go around 68.21 times when that car travels 500 feet.